Hello, it's 10.7293, and today we'll be doing the counterpunching guide. Um, so actually there's three different counterpunching styles you can do, but it really depends on the character you're using. See, right now I have Sakai, and he's extremely quick, but I can't use a sniper-based style because of a few things. So, Sakai has a really weak bullet time. I think it's like maybe like 1 or 2 minutes long, which is really weak. And that limits the amount of that limits the counter punching style I can use. So in bullet time, you can use a specific type of counter, and these counters do more damage. And obviously, you can always set it up so I can like aim it and adjust for height and all of them. And these counters do way more damage. I think they're quicker, and you can already see that I've run out of bullet time. So Saka is a really weak counter puncher. And Karazawa here has no bullet time, so he's even weaker when it comes to counter punching. And I think it's important to make that distinction because it means there's actually two different styles of outside firing in this game. One that non-bullet time users can use, and one that strong bullet time users can use. For example, Sawamura, Itagaki, and Miyata probably have the strongest bullet time in the featherweight division. And you got the weaker ones or non-existent ones. So the main speedsters in this game are Sakai, Karazawa, and Hayami. These are the guys with weak bullet times. Hayami's an exception though. Hayami's really good in just all areas, but he's a really strong speedster as well. Okay, so I'm gonna go over what you can do with weak speedsters and then the strong ones. Since I'm using Sakai, I have to. Sakai's really weak as well, so you're gonna. Well, most speedsters in this game are weak anyway. So you gotta really find a balance between aggression and you gotta have strong defense as well. Because it doesn't take much to knock any of the speedsters in this game down. And because of this game, because it's layered in sequences, speedsters actually have an advantage with mobility. Because this game is based on sequences, and if you're good, then you can probably win most sequences. And by combat sequences, I mean like you throw a jab, and then the AI dodges it, and then you try to counter their counter, and then etc. etc. But speedsters usually have an advantage with attack sequences because of how quick they are. And you can always angle off after a sequence, which is really important. So I'll do a round or two with Carousel, and I'll break down the main counter punching style I like to use and ones you can pull off. If you're trying to use an outboxing in this game, you gotta be so focused. It's probably one of the most frustrating styles to use in this game. Because you're landing like 7 or 8 punches, and then all the opponent has to do is land one because you're using such a weak character and you just got knocked down. And you gotta stay really patient as well. So don't try and force a counter if it's not there, then just exit. But I'll be demonstrating all this in this round. Yeah, so do not force a counter. If it's not there, then just cycle out. You don't need to stay in exchanges unnecessarily. So you might spend a lot of time just waiting for a right punch to counter. And you can say I always have an advantage with attack sequences because of how quick I am. I can just exit out, in and out whenever I want. Okay, I'm gonna pause it. So you want to counter the big shots. Usually the small shots are really hard to counter unless you have bullet time. But with the big shots, there's usually a quick window where you can counter, and those are the shots you want to counter. For example, right here is a big window to counter. You can usually tell because there's a pause of animation after, and that's what you want to counter. And the thing is, though, is that with some characters, you can only pull off like 1 or 2 counters before you have to exit. With Karazao, he's quite slow compared to Sakai, so I'm able to kind of do whatever I want. But some of the tougher characters, they'll throw a counter literally as you try to set up your second counter. So in most situations, it's probably going to be jabbing, moving out, jabbing, moving out. At least early on. Okay, that was a weak counter. You want to get the heavy ones where they're like stunned for a bit. Okay, those are the counters you really want to get. And don't be afraid to just bait counters. Like, you know, you're meant to play as a counter fighter. Great outbox from this game. So, don't feel the need to start exchanges. You can just stay patient, circle out, and look for the shots you want to land. Okay, I don't know how much I need to emphasize this, but it's really important. You don't counter every shot. You're only looking for specific shots to counter, which is why I'm able to get so much damage right now, because I'm only countering the big shots. So yeah, you want to also make sure you manage your distance as well. That's really important. And I don't know, it's hard to say like how hard it is because I'm going against Karuzawa and I've been playing this game for a while. But if you already watched my movement guide, then this really shouldn't be an issue for you because you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything like crazy. You're just adding orphans to your movement. Because your movement lets you set up like different counters and different attack options. Also, make sure you're circling as well. So, bait and attack and just circle out and then counter. That's more or less what whole formula. The only difference is, difficulty is when you go against some of the stronger characters, because the sequences can get really complicated. Yeah, I don't think Karuza was a good representation of a strong character. So I'll go against a stronger character, and then you can understand like how complicated the sequences can get sometimes. Okay, so I'm gonna go against Hayami, and Hayami is a great example of how layered the sequences in this game can get. Because I don't know why, but the AI for Hayami is just insane, and he's probably one of the best characters in the featherweight division. Okay, this isn't just a overall fight I'm having between Saka and Hayami. I'm trying to give a demonstration here. I kind of got lost in the moment. Okay, but you can see that Hayami is always reacting to whatever attack I'm making, so I have to anticipate and react to that. Sometimes that means missing countering opportunities because I know that Hayami is probably going to counter my counter in some way. So, actually, this is a good opportunity to talk about um, uh, risky counters and safe counters. But back to I'll talk about that later. But yeah, I'll give a bit more of a demonstration on the attack sequences. But this is just a general idea that you basically need to always be prepared for your counter to fail, and that in certain opportunities you think would be a good time to land a counter, just be careful, basically. Because even though his countering is risky, because he can always get countered back, and Hayami is doing a great job at countering me every time I try to set up a counter, because he's so quick. He's almost as quick as Sako. It's actually quicker to just sway than it is to sway and counter. Swaying and countering is like a little bit longer than it is to just sway. So keep that in mind. So I can just do this all day, but there's a pause when I do a slip counter or a slip animation, a slip counter animation. And that's when Hayami's getting me. Okay, I think that's enough of a demonstration now. So yeah, that's the gist of sequences and how deep it can go in this game. Sometimes it's like up to six. No, sometimes it's like up to like about 5 to 6. Sometimes in some situations, but usually in most situations, if you're playing it correctly, it's 1-2. You win, and then you exit the sequence. Unless you get a stun, in which case obviously continue with your attack. But next I'll go into more depth about counters.